All right, and we're back here on Couch Coach Live, a special Tuesday night edition here under the lights here on Couch Coach Live. What's going on, X?
Ain't too much what's going on with your coach.
Not much, man. You beating the Heat,
Oh man, I'm trying, man. It is a struggle out
man.
there. It is a struggle.
Man, yeah, it's crazy. I end up I didn't go for my walk today, but normally like these last few days I've been going like at 8 o'clock, like right when the sun go down, like 8:25, 8:30. Go
Hmm.
out there, yeah, because during the day, yeah, it's crazy. It's too damn hot.
Yeah, I'm out there every day, so I'm.
I know, right?
Yeah, so it's been a struggle these last couple days.
Yeah, man. But just as long as you get your rest, stay hydrated, man, and just
Hmm. That's the
yeah,
most
man.
important thing: getting the rest and staying hydrated. Everything else is just is mental. You take care of the physical part, you'll be all right.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So we got a great show lined up for you tonight. So what we're gonna do, we'll talk about OKC winning their first ever NBA championship because we don't, like we say out here, we don't really count the Seattle Supersonic 1979 as the one. So it is what it is. So we'll talk about OKC's place in NBA history. I think this is gonna be a very interesting conversation. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss Tyrese Haliburton injury. Kevin Durant traded to the Houston Rockets, and then just some other NBA trades that's been going on. Obviously, we had Drew Holiday being traded. Jordan Poole got traded today. Kristaps Porzingis just got traded right before we came on air, so we'll discuss those. And then just talk about Jalen Green. Will he stay in Phoenix or will they trade him? How that will look. And then in our deal or no segment, we'll talk about Rachel DeMita being fired from the Big Three for tweeting out praising Caitlin Clark. Discuss that. Kelsey Plum being turned off by autograph seekers, and then Ace Bailey essentially skipping workouts and actually skipping actually workouts and skipping visits. So and wrap that up in a bow, and then we'll give our game ball and final thoughts. So, what we're gonna do? We're gonna kick that intro, and we'll be right back here on Couch Coach Live. And we're back here on Couch Coach Live. And this week's Couch Coach Live is powered by SeatGeek. Head over to SeatGeek.com. Use our promo code Couch Coach to get yourself $20 off at checkout. So let's first we're gonna talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now with this team, obviously they had that win in Game 7 over the Indiana Pacers. Um, Essentially wrapping up a great season. They finished 68-14 in the regular season, went 16-7 in the playoffs to win their first ever NBA championship. Um, another other things about this team, they had a point differential of 12.9 in the regular season, which is a record that was at that time was set by 1971-72 LA Lakers. Pretty much just breezed through the regular season, had a little bumps in the road in the playoffs with Denver and also the Indiana Pacers. So, with that being said, what do you look at OKC in their place as in NBA history as far as all-time great teams in NBA history?
Mm. Um, Well, first off, I want to congratulate the OKC Thunder on securing the championship, their first ever NBA championship. As far as their ranking, I'm trying to go back as far as I can remember. Mm, I think you can put them top 10. Um, it's hard for me to put them over the Lakers team, the 2000 the Laker team, Shaq and Kobe. Um, it's hard for I can't put them over the Spurs. That Miami team that won not the first championship, but LeBron's second of the back to back. That team was special, and LeBron went on a historic run himself from from the regular season on through to the playoffs. But I'll put them in the top 10. He is no one, in my opinion, is beating the 72-10 Bulls. That I think that is, unless if Golden State would have won the year they went 73-9, maybe we could have had that conversation. But they blew the 3-1 lead to Cleveland, so I will put OKC top 10 as far as teams in championship teams history.
Yeah. It's gonna be tough for me because I think I think obviously the number one is gonna be the 95, 96 Bulls, 72-10. I definitely want to give a nod to the 71, 72 Lakers. They had a 33-game winning streak during the regular season. So a lot of my list is more so of kind of accomplishments that you kind of had in the regular season. So I look at that. Then also, I think the third best team is the Golden State Warriors of 2016, 2017. That was the year when they got Kevin Durant. They were 16-1 in the playoffs, so they only lost one game in the playoffs. So I got to give them that nod. The 85-86 Celtics, they were undefeated at home, 6-7-15. I do want to put the Miami Heat that 2012, 2013 that you said, the 66. It was 66-16. They went on 26 straight game win streak. So
Yeah.
I look at that. It's a cross between putting them sixth. I have them probably 6/7 of all time because I kind of still want to put that 91-92 Bulls kind of in that sixth spot potentially. They were 6-7-15. This team was so I'm gonna say if I'm gonna put how it is, I definitely think that this team, just from the record standpoint, kind of just like we talked about, I said about the point differential, the dominant regular season, and then even with that, because even we look at that 2012, 2013 team, they did go to a 7-game against San Antonio, and honestly, they were essentially if they didn't get that offensive rebound, we could be talking about San Antonio Spurs, and they won't be on this list. So I got them as 6. I got them the 6th best team in NBA history.
All right, it just hit me, Coach. Do you have them above the 2008 Celtics and the Celtics team that won the championship last year? Because the 2008 Celtics, I mean,
yeah,
they're
66-16.
16,
So I'm
yeah,
like,
and they had their struggles in the first 2 rounds of their playoffs, but I mean 66-16, and then it was, you brought in two key players, and they gelled. It seemed like they gelled right away.
Yeah.
So
and
that Boston team from last year, they were just special. They were on a mission. They were clear, like they were, to me, they're similar to the OKC team of this year because they were better. They were like the best team from start to finish.
Yeah.
You didn't have to, is this team better than the Celtics? Is this team better than OKC? Nah, I think from start to finish, they were the clear best team in the league.
Yeah, and I because I did because I pretty much had like that last year's Celtics team in that version in that top 10 as well too. But because I also wanted to, like talk about the other Celtics, the 07, 08, there. I do want to put them at 9 because the thing about, cause I know last week we talked about that Lakers 2000, 2001 team, but then I got to think to myself, that team was 56-26. So it's kind of one of those where even though, yes, they were 15-1 because back then the first round was 5 games. Somebody say, oh, it's 16 games, not 24 years ago. So, chill out. Yeah, and they would get that, but I gotta look at this the fact of, hey, you at least gotta be 60, at least have 60 wins to be in that criteria. Okay. So I look at that last year's Celtics teams would be like 9th if I ranked it 9th.
Okay.
Probably interchangeable between the 07, 08 Celtics and last year's Celtics as well. But yeah, and that's the thing about it, because I wondered, like, because they've had some postseason successes. Well, obviously, win championship. That's the ultimate. But then also just the fact of the regular season as well, because a lot of people kind of devalue the regular season, which I'm like, hey, I mean, they dominated all year. Well, they went like 29-1 versus the Eastern Conference, and they only lost to Milwaukee, and I think that was like early in the year.
Yeah.
So I got them as the 6th best team in NBA history. And it might be a little rich for some, but
I mean,
I can roll with it.
If I mean, since you factor in the regular season record, I mean, it's really nothing to really argue. 68-14 speaks for itself. And it's kind of funny because most teams that win those many games during the regular season don't always win the championship. So
right.
So that's why it's still remarkable because you put your best foot forward through the whole season, and then you kept your foot on the gas throughout the playoffs. I mean, yeah, every team is going to hit a bump in the road through the season and in the playoffs. It's just, can you get over that bump? Can you keep pushing forward and achieve the ultimate goal?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where a lot of it too comes in the fact of just, like we talk about the postseason. Yes, but it's just one of the things. Like I said, you do run into bumps in the road, matchups as well too. Because I mean, you think about the two teams that gave them the 7 games, they just matched up well with them. I mean, you look at the Indiana Pacers, and you also look at the Denver Nuggets. They just matched up well with them. But then obviously we see they swept Memphis. They did a gentleman sweep against Minnesota. So it's just kind of one of those where, I mean, you play who you draw, because I think, could they, so I got to give them that nod as well too. So yeah, they're 6th.
And then look, we also didn't factor in that they was also missing Chet for 50 games.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
and they still managed to finish the season 68-14. So that lets you know how special of a team, how deep they are. So yeah.
So yeah, they definitely get that nod in my personal opinion. So we gotta talk, and this is just a very unfortunate situation that happened in Game 7 with Tyrese Haliburton tore his Achilles in the first quarter. Had 9 points in that match in the game, was hitting 30-foot threes, and Indiana at the time they were doing this thing, and with him tearing his Achilles, he'll be out for the 2025-26 season, so we won't be seeing him until the following NBA season, pretty much in the next about 15 months when the 2026-2027 NBA season starts. So, what's your thoughts on Halliburton, on Holly tearing that Achilles?
I mean, it was a risk that he was willing to take. We all know that when it comes to a calf strain, the next injury to come, if you decide to play through it, what's going to happen? I kind of caught myself in game 6 looking out for that. But once I saw that he made it through, I was like, okay, maybe he'll be good to go game 7. But then just like that, it happened. And he was fixing to have a big game. He came out aggressive, looking for his shot. And Indiana looked like they was gonna make some noise in OKC. This game would have been a lot closer if Haliburton wouldn't have went down. So, I mean, I hate it for him to go through this injury. He's definitely missing all of next season. It's like when you get it make me think about when they blew game 4. You could have been up 3-1 and you could have sealed the deal in game 6. And in the way the East shaping up now, you don't know if you're going to even make it back to the finals again. And we don't even know if Halliburton going to be the same player when he comes back. I hope he is. But everybody that comes back from the injury doesn't come back the same. They're not all Kevin Durant. So it's going to be a wait and see. I don't expect Indiana to do much next season. I mean, no disrespect to them, but you losing a key piece, your floor general, one of your leaders, your top 2 player on the team. So I'm just trying to figure out like where's Indiana gonna find that extra help for Pascal? I mean, they got McConnell, Nembhard that can step in, but they can't do what Halliburton do. They don't bring to the game what Halliburton brings. Yeah, he may have a couple games where he'll struggle here and there, but when he's aggressive and looking and hunting his shot, the Pacers are almost damn near unbeatable. So just watching him go down like that, and then when he instantly smacked the floor, you knew what it was. You knew what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And once they showed that replay, you seen the Achilles just snap the way it did. And you hear all him, like I said, smacking on the ground saying, no, 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 no. He heard that pop. And that's when I knew he knew. I think we all knew because, once he went down and like that, you knew he popped it. And like we talked about it last week, yeah, it's just like one of those things where you just take that risk, and it's just one of those things where, and I think, like he said, he would do it again. So I think this is one of the things where, hey, he understood what would have been possible. And like you said, game 6, he looked phenomenal. Like you said, I thought it was, just something where I wouldn't say I necessarily forgot about the calf strain, but it's kind of one of the things where it's like, okay, if he was able to be efficient like he was in game 6 and then kind of have somewhat of a rest, essentially 2 days kind of get off his feet for 2 days, and then this happened. Yeah, it is heartbreaking. And like you said, him being out for next year, I think definitely is a definite cloud for this team, and also just for the Eastern Conference in itself. I mean, you just look at what's going on. It's kind of one of those where it's like, the Eastern Conference is so open, you don't really even know who's going to really be contenders in the Eastern Conference because of these injuries. So you look at from that standpoint, and then also just the impact he would have had in Game 7, especially considering the fact when you kind of seen how the Pacers had the lead at halftime, and then the third quarter kind of went away from them. And what was it, like TJ McConnell, I think, scored all the points in the third quarter. So you think to yourself, if you would have had Hallie out there, still, like I said, being aggressive, may not, he may not have been blazing like he was in that, the first three pointers that he had, because he was coming out balling. So you definitely think he would have definitely helped that, especially in that third quarter, because I think that's where essentially where this game was lost, in that third quarter after the halftime. And I think they were kind of running on fumes, the emotion of the Halliburton injury, and then all of a sudden I think they kind of just ran out of gas. It's kind of one of those things, like, it's almost, to me, it was like almost like Novocaine. It's almost like, Halliburton, they took all your teeth out. I'm still going, I know it's gone, but I'm trying to, this pain is kind of numbing me. But then all of a sudden, once you get that halftime, it kind of, I think the sober reality of him, being in that locker room, I think it got to him. And then then you look at just what ended up happening in that third quarter, and then that's why we're here. But yeah, man, and Haliburton got that surgery yesterday. He was not playing.
Yeah.
So he's on the mend now. So.
And another thing, Indiana just kept turning the ball over in the third quarter, and that's when that's that point in the game you saw where Haliburton was missed.
Yep.
I mean, granted, the games he played, some of the games they still had high turnovers, but at certain points of the game, you just felt like, yeah, they need Haliburton right now.
Yeah. And that's one thing too, and that's usually been the difference in these games, where if the Pacers don't have high turnovers, they win this game. And but we know kind of how OKC defense has been like that. It's that swarming defense. Like Anthony Edwards said, 15 puppets on one string. And it's one of the things where, if you can, if like, now we always looked at those, like how they was gonna be able to kind of attack in the passing lane, like how the Pacers were gonna overcome that swarming defense. And like you said, in certain games, it worked to perfection. It worked and it helped them, and they was able to win these games. But like you said, the turnovers was huge in this game. So, but yeah, man, the East is gonna be crazy next year for sure. It's a 30-win team. It's definitely gonna probably be a 7th or 8th seed for sure.
Oh, most definitely in the East. Yeah, it's
yeah.
1st
to 30, even playing at this point. But so we gotta talk about some trades. We'll first talk about I guess we can kind of lump them all together, and pretty much at this point. So Kevin Durant, as we all know, was traded, and that's what I found so weird about Sunday. The day that the Oklahoma City, well, even though we didn't know about the Thunder winning the championship when this trade was announced, but the night of Game 7, when Oklahoma City was on the verge of make their first ever NBA Finals championship, one of their franchise best players gets traded. A former great of the organization, Kevin Durant, gets traded to the Houston Rockets. So the Rockets receive Kevin Durant, while the Phoenix Suns receive Jalen Green, the 10th overall pick in tomorrow night's draft, Dylan Brooks, and 5 second-round picks. What was your overall thoughts on the KD trade?
I'm just glad that they got it out the way. We all knew that this was gonna be his last season in Phoenix. They kind of made it known to everyone that Kevin Durant will not be returning to Phoenix. As far as what Phoenix got back, they what you said, Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green, the 10th pick,
and then 5
second round pick. Well, they needed draft capital because they gave a lot of that away when they acquired Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. From what I'm hearing, Jalen Green will be on the move again. I don't know how soon it's gonna happen, but I just keep seeing a lot of stuff popping up saying that Jalen Green will not be on the Phoenix Suns. So I'm assuming they're gonna be using that to get more draft compensation or try to get another star player because I'm thinking about the the starting lineup for Phoenix. They still don't have a point guard. They need a point guard. You can't keep putting Devin Booker at the point and expect things to run smoothly. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna work. Um, my bad, coach. I got kind of off track with that. But
Okay.
I think as far as Houston, I think they I think they upgraded. I guess they saw enough out of Jalen Green in this playoff run to be like, maybe he's not the guy. So pairing KD up with Thompson, Sengun, Jabari Smith, and Van Vliet. I mean, that's a
Yeah,
nice, that's a solid starting five. But then you also got Cam Whitmore, Reed Shepard that can get more minutes, Eason. So yeah, Houston turned out pretty well in this. They finished second seed this past season.
second. Yeah, in the West. Yeah.
I can still see them finishing in the top four, top five. I don't see a significant drop off. I just hope KD can stay healthy, and that's if KD can stay healthy, they'll make some noise in the West.
Yeah, I do like the move of getting Kevin Durant because now you get that score that you lacked in that Golden State series. So now you kind of get that scoring in that. I do. I kind of do. The only thing I wish they wouldn't have got rid of Dylan Brooks, even though they
Yeah,
can, but they got younger Dylan Brooks on this team.
yeah,
But I still think the intangible.
Yeah, he brings that toughness.
Yeah, and that's what they need in those series when you're playing like an OKC, when
Mm-hmm.
you're playing like Minnesota, when you're playing like Denver. You need that type of guy in that rotation. You don't have that dog in a sense. I think that could potentially hurt them in the long run as they go deeper in the playoffs. But I do like it. But I know it's always a fair shake. It's like a give or take.
Mm-hmm.
You get rid of that kind of grit, that face of your team, but then you get that scoring punch that you need in Kevin Durant. And I think that's if you looked at it, what they needed most was that scoring punch because obviously I think they were relying a lot on Jalen Green and thinking that he was going to be the one that's kind of take over, especially in that Golden State series where it's like, yes, but we still got to remember he's still 23 years old, so that's another way where you kind of got. I do like Houston having this nice eclectic mix of youth and experience. Obviously, you got like Fred VanVleet. Obviously, he's been been to the NBA Finals. You got Kevin Durant, Steven Adams. So you kind of got like a nice veteran kind of core coupled with the young piece, like you talked about Jabari Smith Jr., Sagoon, Thompson, Eason, Reed Shepard, Cam Whitmore. So you got and that's another team where they didn't. The only issue, and I'm kind of glad they kind of didn't give it a lot because, especially in this landscape now, you need that depth. So it's important to kind of keep some of those young pieces together, especially on the bench. I think the only thing they really might need is, like you said, I think they'll need a point guard potentially, and kind of have Fred VanVleet kind of coming off the bench potentially. I definitely think because I think I'll have somebody run the point, because that's the one thing where they attacked him like crazy, and
See that,
and
and,
they can
and I feel like that's where Reed Shepard can step in. At
yeah.
I just think,
But the thing is, can he step in at this point when you have a Kevin Durant? That sounds like they need that other piece. So, like, yes, you can have it down the line. Like, I think Reed Shepard could be it, but do you trust him at this point in the early part of his career when you have like a kind of a win now kind of situation in a sense? Especially when you bring in a Kevin Durant, especially at this age, he's going to be 38 in September. It's win now.
I trust Reed Shepard more coming off the bench this season and learning from Van Vliet, and then maybe next season you try to ease him into the starting lineup, because
But
I think Reed Shepard will be a decent point guard, especially in that Houston offense.
yeah, and they'll get there. But yeah, it's more so of what they need now. I think if they can get one, and we might talk about this down as the show progresses potentially. So Drew Holiday was traded to the Portland Trail Blazers for Anthony Simons and 2 second-round picks. What's your overall thoughts on that trade?
It works out for Boston because they get that money off their books. Because I was thinking about it today. They had like between Tatum, Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Porzingis, like almost $1 billion worth of contracts, and that's kind of crazy when you think about it. That's all tied up into 5 players, and I didn't even mention Al Horford. So I think them trading Holiday helps them with getting them salary cap together. As far as getting Simons back, I think that was a nice pickup, young piece. I think he's definitely going to help Boston this season. I'm not going to say they're going to be a championship contender, but with the East being so wide open, who knows? Um, he can play the point if need be. He can play off the ball and play the 2. You can bring in a kind of a smaller lineup with Pritchard, Derek White, Simons, Jalen Brown. You can run them all you can have them on the court at one time. So it's not it wasn't a bad trade for Boston. As far as Portland, I don't know what they're going to do with Drew Holiday because they have such a young group out there. So I don't know if they're going to buy him out or just see how it goes out there. But if they buy him out, that's what $100+ million buyout we talking about. So
Yeah, and this was a cost saving move for the Boston Celtics. They had to kind of get out what they call a second apron hell, and they have gotten out of that. We'll talk about that other trade to kind of get them out of second apron hell momentarily. But yeah, and this is another one where this is good for Simons, where I think he can go there and play some meaningful basketball.
yeah,
And he's be a free agent next year, so it'll be another opportunity for him. Because there'll be some opportunities for him in this offense. Guess consider the fact without no Jason Tatum this year, so he'll definitely have an opportunity. And really curious how how it would look for him, like as far as how he will perform with the Celtics team when with a chance to play, like I mentioned earlier, meaningful basketball, playoff basketball, how he'll perform. And this time next year, he could be getting himself a nice payday somewhere, um, potentially. So I look at that deal, and then Portland yet again. I seem like that's just a destination for Drew Holiday because remember he got traded. He got
Yeah,
traded and when he was with Milwaukee, he got traded to Portland. So now it's another one where
and they
we
bought
should.
him out.
And they bought him out, and it's going to happen here too because this is a young team. This is another one where I thought Anthony Simons was going to be like one of their building pieces. Obviously, I know they got Scoot and they got some other guys, but I definitely thought he was going to be a part of their long-term future for this team. So, yeah, I don't know what Portland's doing.
Now, I think if Portland keeps Holiday, I think it will be beneficial for Scoot Henderson because he can learn from Drew, pick up some of his tendencies. So it could be worth the while, but I mean, like you said, they're so young, and
Yeah, it just doesn't
they
make no sense.
and Drew is at the stage in his career where he's playing for championships. He's not playing to be part of a rebuild, and that's what Portland is in the middle of. They're still in the middle of a rebuild.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely think he's going to be in their long term. Yeah, because he's the one that she's going to be a buyout, and if a team like I mentioned earlier, maybe like a Houston, if they could kind of finagle the books and do what they need to do to get him, like if you feel like you're a point guard away, or even a team like the Pacers. I mean, just any team. I'm just throwing out some teams that are like contenders that would
Lakers,
need something of that nature. Yeah, Lakers, absolutely. Especially when you got a guy, we got Braun and Luca, and then and definitely he'll help you defensively, and that's another
yes,
thing too where
yes, yeah,
they lack. So so he'll be a building piece for a team that feels though they are a point guard away from winning the championship, almost similar to like what he did before he went to when he went to Milwaukee initially
hmm
there, and then when he went to Boston, because we knew once they got rid of Marcus Smart, they needed that was what we deemed as like an upgrade.
yeah.
When they sent Marcus Smart to Memphis, but so this is how they got out of the second apron. The Celtics was busy yet again, so they traded Kristaps Porzingis, and now this is a three-way trade with the Boston Celtics, Atlanta Hawks, and the Brooklyn Nets. So the Boston received Georges Niang and a second-round pick. The Atlanta Hawks got Porzingis and a second-round pick, and then Brooklyn got Terrence Mann and the Hawks number 22 overall pick. And with that, the Brooklyn Nets have the 1/6 of the picks in the 2025 in the first round pick in tomorrow night's draft. What's your overall thoughts on the three-way deal?
First of all, I don't think I ever seen one team hold 5 first-round picks in the same draft. Um, as far as like you said, Boston was back at it again, um, trying to get some of their money off the books, and they did, and they got a nice pickup in Niang. He's a good defender, um, 3-and-D type player. So it seems like they're putting shooters and defenders around Jalen Brown. So and who else was part of that? And who else did Atlanta get?
They just got Porzingis and a second round pick.
Okay. And Brooklyn just got the draft pick.
and then the draft pick and Terrence Mann.
As far as that pickup for Brooklyn is solid. Terrence Mann I'm not gonna say was. Terrence Mann is a decent player. He was a heck of a player for the Clippers. Didn't really hear too much about him when he was playing in Atlanta, but with him going to Brooklyn, young core, maybe he can be one of the building pieces along with those 5 first-round draft picks. As far as Atlanta goes, solid pickup. Porzingis stretch 4 or 5, whatever he wants to be. Rim protector, can knock down the open 3. Lob threat for Trae Young. The only thing about Porzingis is availability. Will he be available? Can he stay healthy majority of the season and all of the postseason? Because Atlanta sneakily has a nice squad if you think about it. You got Trae, you got Dyson Daniels. Jalen Johnson should be coming back from injury. Then you add Porzingis. Yeah, they're gonna be solid, especially in the East. Like you said, what you said, first 1 to 30.
Oh, you saw the 30 wins, yeah.
Yeah. So it's looking up for Atlanta. Boston, like I said, Boston doing what they're doing, making things happen.
Yeah, I'm curious as far as obviously, like you said, Boston. This is a move for them to kind of get out of that second apron and kind of have some breathing room going forward. So, and we all knew that Boston. They said that change was going to be imminent. That this was going to happen. So they, it is what it is. I think, like you said, getting Yang. I think that's this is another solid move for the Celtics just to kind of help with the salary cap. Atlanta's going to be tricky because I know they were looking for a big man. So, and how Porzingis will be going forward. We know that he, with the illness and what have you, will obviously now having the summer to kind of maybe see to figure out what's going on, and hopefully, or maybe hopefully, the issue kind of subsides. So you kind of curious how that happens, and then with Brooklyn, another draft pick, and also you bring in like a Terrence Mann, which Brooklyn is really a curious case in the NBA because I think they have some solid guys like Cam Thomas, obviously, So you look at that squad, they got some pieces, but the pieces just not fitting together. It's almost like they have, like you look at those puzzles and they have like 100 pieces and then they all just scattered.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I look at Brooklyn, and none of these kind of pieces have kind of came together and actually molded a picture or molded anything of significance. So, and then hopefully tomorrow night with their picks that, hopefully that can kind of help them if they want those picks, or maybe kind of mortgage it somebody. Maybe like this would be a perfect case if, hey, and kind of, and I guess we could just allude to kind of, we'll talk about that momentarily. But the final one I want to talk about, this interesting Pelicans and Wizards trade. So the Pelicans received Jordan Poole, Sadiq Bey, and the number 40th pick, while the Wizards get C.J. McCollum and Kelly Olynyk. Just your thoughts.
For New Orleans, I'm just guessing they in rebuild mode. As far as the Wizards, I think it's kind of tricky with the Wizards because they have veterans and they have a mixture of good vets and young pieces. And it's like, how can we mesh them together? Because I see they picked up the option on Chris Middleton. So now you have Chris Middleton, CJ McCullough, and Marcus Smart. So mixed in with your young pieces like Sar and those other guys, and the on paper the Wizards could be maybe like a play-in team with this move. I wouldn't be surprised if things work out how they should, because you don't make a move like that if you're trying to rebuild. You don't go get two veterans like that if you're thinking about rebuilding, and you don't pick up the option on Chris Middleton either. So I think the Wizards might be trying to make some noise in the East next season.
Yeah, I'm thoroughly confused about both of these. It's kind of one of those where it's just like I got two rocks. I'm gonna give you my two rocks for these two rocks. One's got dirt in it, one got hay in it. I'm like, I don't it's just whatever. Like, I know the Wizards, which is kind of weird. This is that kind of their way of kind of clearing up cap space for next year. Because they saying they pretty much gonna free up, they're gonna have $100 million in cap next season. And it's like, okay, I mean, that's dandy and all, but you're not the Lakers.
Yeah.
You're not a destination place. Like, no one's gonna say, hey, I'm coming to DC, so I'm curious how that's all gonna play out. With the Pelicans, to me, it's almost like kind of like trust the process. I know I will say that I think Joe Dumars knows what he's doing. So I'm not going to his first ever in his first transaction in this position. It is a little questionable, but the fact you do get a Jordan Poole who averaged nearly 19 points a game. Then also it's gonna be interesting because you still got Murray, you got Zion,
Yeah.
you got Trey Murphy. I mean, you got some guys there. That's just like we talked about Brooklyn, where you got this 100-piece puzzle piece.
Yeah.
But all the puzzles are one set is on the left, one set on the right, one in the middle. Everything's got to come together. And I think that's where it's gonna be interesting of how that's gonna go down. The Wizards, they're the same. Where it's like you got a solid veteran team, and it's kind of like I don't know how we got here. I mean, it's almost to a point. I always thought they were going for a youth movement, but now you're bringing in even though it's smart for them because they have that those expiring contracts.
Unless they bring them in to help mature the locker room faster, because you're bringing in a lot of vets. I mean, I ain't gonna say a lot of vets, but you're bringing in some key vets that can control the locker room and make things seem more professional, more mature in the locker room.
Yeah,
because you got I think Bub Carrington can learn a lot from Marcus Smart and CJ and Chris Middleton. I think Sar can learn a lot from Kelly Olynyk, Chris Middleton, and all the other guys. So, like you said, the Wizards are in a unique spot where they could potentially be a play-in team, but they can also end up being back in the lottery. So this this race in the Eastern Conference next season is going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, because it's just like who, like I said, first to 30, and it's and I think it's one of those things where it's like I don't necessarily think that the plan needs to be kind of orchestrated now, but like they're doing something, and I think that's the thing where these are moves kind of set up for the future, and I think 2026 it's really gonna be interesting because a lot of these guys could be coming off the books. I know like CJ's gonna come off the books.
Mm-hmm.
So we shall see. Um, so so we want to talk about Jalen Green. So we talked about him being, which there's conflicting reports. So obviously, when this trade happened, a lot of people were saying, well, they're probably gonna move on. Yeah, he's gonna be flipped for another pick. Then also there was rumors about Bradley Beal pretty much gonna get bought out. So, and then I was hearing some stories where they might keep Jalen Green and then put Book at the point, which I say just trade Jordan. I mean, trade Jalen Green and just flip him for something because that's not gonna work.
No.
So Jalen Green is on the move potentially.
Mm-hmm.
What are some spots that you see him potentially going to?
Well, we just talked about one, Brooklyn. I think Sacramento. Mm, trying to think who. Only two teams I can really think of is Brooklyn, Sacramento. I'm gonna throw Utah in there. Mm, well, Miami. I think Miami could use another scoring threat, and I think Spoelstra would do wonders for Jalen Green. So those are four teams I can that off the top of my head I think that could make a move for Jalen Green.
Probably the best as far as the best fit when it comes to where the Phoenix Suns need draft capital.
Brooklyn.
And I think Brooklyn it makes sense because you can kind of they're a team where you kind of kill two birds in one stone. You can potentially get like to me, if you can maybe try to get like D-Lo in this deal, and you may not necessarily have to get. You might could get Brooklyn late picks, like the one that just flip for from Atlanta. You get just to get that, and maybe another draft pick potentially with that down the road. So you get that point guard and D'Lo, coupled with Book.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of get that. I don't necessarily think you'll get nothing out of Bradley Beal because obviously I don't think he's going to waive his no trade clause. Which I mean, at this point, you probably just going to be buying him out. Just give it, letting him just get his money pennies off the dollar and just get it out of there. It's pretty much it's like you're gonna just throw them away like it's Easter candy at this point. I mean,
yeah, pretty
Easter
much.
in the past 2 months ago, ain't nobody got no more Easter candy. So, Tina, I think that might be good for him. The Hornets potentially. They may not have the capital, but I do like the Lonzo Ball, Jalen Green. Obviously, you got kid from Alabama. What's his name? Brandon Miller.
Brandon Miller.
That's a nice little It's a nice little trio. That's a nice little trio in Charlotte, potentially. Because I definitely think if it was me, I probably Brooklyn where he kind of be that guy, and he could be that guy in Charlotte as well too. Obviously with Lonzo Ball, Mellow Ball, my bad, Mellow Ball. But they don't necessarily have the draft capital per se. I mean, they may give you a draft pick down the line, but if it would be Brooklyn, where at least with Brooklyn say, hey, we have a centerpiece where the puzzles in a sense kind of make sense. Hey, we got a young 23-year-old fresh start, come have some playoff experience. He kind of develop his game while we kind of figure this all out, because we all essentially, like every team in NBA at this point, they're flying and playing. They're flying and playing as we left off. So it's kind of one of things where they're learning how to fly in the air, and I think especially these young teams are doing that here. So I definitely think he could definitely those either Charlotte or Brooklyn. I think even what you do with Brooklyn, you think of yourself, I think you could kind of field a solid team. It just depends on kind of how you want to do with Brooklyn. Because I know a lot of people, because you get in maybe D'Angelo Russell, Zaire Williams, Noah Clowney. And I think even if you have a backcourt of Book, D'Angelo Russell, then you also put what's she get to 3? Dylan Brooks, because he's in Phoenix. So that's a fairly decent squad. I don't think he'll be just as good as you were last year when you had like a Kevin Durant. Because the thing about it, you want to acquire the depth. I think that's where, if anything, if one thing you learned about this year, you got to have depth. And you look at these two teams that finished at the end, it came down essentially to depth. So you look at just from that standpoint of, we talked about as far as the missing Haliburton. Yeah, they could have had, not even the whole Halliburton injury situation, but just in general, like even when they had games where you had like Benedict Mathurin stepping up. We had teams, where guys stepped up, like Jalen Williams stepped up in one game. Caruso stepped up off the bench. So it's just one of those things where you have to acquire the depth. But you see how Phoenix was, where they didn't have that depth. They pretty much had that log jam in that starting lineup. They didn't have no bench. And that's why they didn't make the play-in, essentially.
Yeah.
So
what you think about Sacramento?
Yeah, I think Sacramento, because you can kind of get some veteran pieces.
Yeah.
If you're Phoenix. So you can get maybe like either DeMar. You probably would get De'Aaron. What's his face? Malik Monk. He'd be in the deal. But do you get DeMar DeRozan, or you get Zach LaVine?
If I had to choose, I say DeRozan, just because I know he'll be available. Zach LaVine, like the injury bug has been hitting him here lately.
Yeah.
So, if I had to pick between the two, DeRozan.
Because he could be your 3.
Yeah, and then you can just bring, like you said, you can bring Dylan Brooks off the bench.
Yeah, he could be your the muscle.
Or you can try to gauge and see how they feel about getting off of Sabonis.
That's mighty rich, X. It's mighty rich.
I mean, does Sabonis still want to be in Sacramento is the question.
That's true. Because I mean, if Sabonis is on the table, if I'm Nebraska in Phoenix, Hell, I'm coming to Sacramento to get them. I would bring the old mayor Kevin Johnson on. I'm coming back. We'll make that trip to Phoenix. We'll pick them up.
And
if
look,
you can put some ball in,
it ain't gonna hurt to ask.
Hey, I know that's like I was telling like last week we talked about if the Kevin Durant deal didn't go through, and if Memphis was trying to trade Ja to Houston, I said, yeah, I mean, hey, you can ask, like you said, you can fill us. Like I said, I throw in Thompson. Y'all was like, oh, I don't know, but like, hey, you can inquire. You know, hey, you can look but don't touch. So hey, I can look, I can observe, I can say, hey, what you thinking about this? You can tell me no. I mean, because we can, we're doing this over the phone. So I'm not gonna see your body language. I know you're probably gonna look at me and pure disgust if I ask for Sabonis. But hey, why not try? I mean, I'm not gonna look at you rolling your eyes at me because we're on the phone. So like so you can roll your ass all you want to, or do a little sigh or whatever, or suck your teeth. I'm gonna ask, why not? Because hey, you got to aim high.
Yeah, so, you're right.
Why not? I mean, hey. So we got to go into our. Okay. All right, got it. All right. So we got to go into our big deal or nah segment. So basically, we just have 3 sports stories that kind of was interesting, and it's kind of one of the things where we wanted to get kind of adverse reactions to these things that happen in the world of sports. So our first topic for big deal or nah, was Rachel DeMita. Many people you may get, and I'll shout out to Rachel DeMita. She's actually from ODU. It's definitely a huge shout out to the ODU grad out in the 757. Yes, you may know her from if you are a 2K 2K TV fan back in the day. In the last few years or so. You know who she is. She is the face of 2K TV once upon a time. So now, she then transitioned to Big 3 to be the courtside correspondent. Now, so there was, obviously, if you know the Big 3, they play on Saturday. So, and this coincided with the return of Caitlin Clark. Remember, Caitlin Clark was out for 2 weeks, and how everybody said, "Oh, the WNBA is gonna fall because she's out for 2 weeks." Mm-hmm. No, this guy didn't fall. People who don't even watch WNBA. So, Rachel DeMita, she tweeted out praising Caitlin Clark, especially, and that was the game against the Liberty, when she came back from the injury. Now, mind you, she was doing this during the same time of her duties as a courtside reporter for the Big 3. We all know that that there were rumblings and talkings of Caitlin Clark joining the Big 3, and she declined the offer. So, with that being said, the Big 3 did fire her for tweeting while being essentially on the company's time. Is this a big deal or no? What you got?
I would say it's a deal because we just saw Stephen A. Smith playing solitaire on his phone during the NBA Finals. So, I mean, it's not like she was tweeting about Caitlin Clark in the middle of one of her sideline interviews. She probably had some downtime. Like we said last week, as we all know, we get a lot of downtime as far as media at these games, whether it be TV timeout, regular timeout. It's a lot of breaks that happen at these games that if you're not in the arena or at the stadium, you would know nothing about. That's why some commercials last longer than others. So I don't. It's kind of like I said, it's a deal because I don't think she should have been fired. Maybe reprimanded or just told, "Hey, don't do that again," or don't do that during the game. Maybe after the game, do it, but don't do it during the game. But as far as being fired, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have fired her unless it's something deeper. Maybe this was the straw that broke the camel's back, or maybe they felt some type of way that Caitlin Clark declined the offer to play in the Big Three. But I don't. I'm hoping they not that petty to do something like that. So, as deal for me.
Just I'm really kind of confused about the whole situation because it's just like I don't like what could she have like. So to me, I think this is more of a big deal because of just everything that's happening in the Big Three in itself. Granted, I know there are rules when it comes to this thing that especially when you work for somebody, and that's the thing about when it comes to this type of stuff. It's always best when you do this as an independent entity, in a sense, because if you're working for somebody and you're doing a competition, I can kind of see that. But this is the same league where Steven Jackson told somebody that he was going to pew them. So it's just like I found it so weird. Like we think that that's kind of normal. Like he going off on somebody in the locker room and somebody's facilities talking about that he going potentially shoot somebody. Well, just be a cleaner version of shooting somebody. I forgot what was the term. but that's just one of those where it's just like, to me, it's a big deal just for the fact of just the whole Big Three and just how weird this whole season has been for them. Like you get rid of her because of the Caitlyn tweet, which I get and I understand, but it's just one of those where it's just like, and I understand, yes, you're on company time, and like you said, you do have those times, but like you said, that's kind of one of those things where I'm like, look, I'll tweet it later. I'll bookmark it. That's why you have Twitter. You have a bookmark feature. Bookmark it and then do it. Because it's definitely not worth it. At the end of the day, it's not worth losing that type of opportunity. And like you said, there are times of breaks, and you can do it when it's your brand, your entity. But like I thought about it the other day, like if I was working for obviously what you do and what I do, we cover, like I give you example what something that we mutually cover, VCU basketball. If I worked for VCU and I was like their correspondent, whatever, and I retweet something about the University of Richmond, I kind of expect it's gonna happen. They're gonna be like, look, you cannot tweet about our arch rival while you're working for us. So it's like it's one of those things where you just don't do it. Like I know, and we talked about like last week, not to be like a hypocrite name, but like, yeah, we do stuff off, but yeah, you're not gonna know. Like, yeah, I've ordered food, I've ordered food. Like, hey, we get ready to get out of here in about 20 minutes. My food will be ready about 20 minutes. Order some food. But it doesn't affect the game. You know what I mean? It doesn't affect like, okay, I'm tweeting whatever. But it's just, it's okay to do stuff on your phone at certain points. Like that case for her, just save that tweet when you get to your destination after you done logged out of the big three or whatever, and you're in your car. When you in your car on your way home, or you get, you know, go to your home, or you go to or wherever you're going after that. Then hey, let's tweet it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because oh yeah, they would have fired your boy if I was been working there. If I did that, if I was working for VCU, they're retweeting some University of Richmond stuff. Oh yeah, I would expect. I would expect. Hell, I'll probably even get. I would. I think I'd get fired by Ed McLaughlin. I'd get fired by the actual AD itself if I did some crap like that. Instead, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and that's something this is certain stuff you don't do. It's like it's always like it's like some things where it's cool, you do certain things, but you just can't have a digital footprint while you're working.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing. So yeah, but I just found it weird. She gets fired, but then Steven Jackson can say he can pew somebody. I'm like, what's going on in this league? Was like this man. I'm like, yo. So we gotta talk about Kelsey Plum. So obviously, Kelsey Plum, now of the Los Angeles Sparks. So we got a video, and I'll kind of preface the video. So this is Kelsey Plum. She's look like she's entering the team hotel. And if you are familiar with some of these scenes where you have like autograph seekers, you have people kind of wanting your autographs as you arrive to and from the arena. So in this short clip, you're going to see an interaction between Kelsey Plum and an autograph seeker. And we're going to play that video right now. And also this tweet, this is actually a TikTok from Mini Graphs. So give them a follow at Mini Graphs and tell them that Couch Coach sent you.
The bus was right here.
Going two hotels here.
Yeah.
Don't y'all
Yeah.
find that kind of weird? Low key? Like low key, come on.
A little, but
Okay.
I'm
I'm really turned off right now.
I'm just a fan though.
I know, I appreciate that.
You sign one, you put my name on it.
I'll
Awesome.
sign one.
That's what I get you on that one.
Yeah.
Keep killing it this year. Appreciate that.
Whichever one.
All right. So before we kind of give it to our reaction, so a lot of people have had mixed feelings and mixed emotions about it. Many people say that she should be grateful for the fact that people are actually outside of, to kind of outside to have those type of interactions because of the fan engagement. And then comparing her to the male counterparts where they have a sea of people that's similar to this. So the question is it a big deal or not that Kelsey Plum was essentially turned off by the autograph seeking fan?
I'm gonna say nah because she has the right to feel that way. Maybe she just felt, I'm not gonna say uncomfortable. Maybe she felt a little unease that they were just standing out front of the team's hotel. Maybe if you were standing somewhere in the arena where they was playing at, but the team hotel. I mean, granted, I know it happens to the NBA players, but they're used to it. The WNBA players are starting to get newer eyes on their product, so it's kind of they're kind of learning in real time how to deal with it. And then you also got, like, some of these fans will get you to sign something so they can run on eBay and sell it. And some players don't like that. I can't blame them. But I think, like I said, I think they're just what most of the WNBA players are just entering uncharted waters as far as the visibility, popularity of the game. And it's coming from, like I said, newer eyes from casual fans, not like diehard basketball fans. You just got the casual fans. that's doing that. So I see it as a nah, not a big deal.
Yeah, I agree. It's not for me too. And I understand where she's coming from because it's just like one of the things where I have to say the discourse of that, oh well, they should like that type of stuff because it's getting them a notoriety. No, but I'm like, no, you can still be creeped out. I mean, like, there's a difference between a man and a woman. And I know a lot of people gonna have this, a visceral reaction to what I'm gonna say, but there is a difference. You think, as a man, I'm like, okay, you just stalking. To me, as a woman, well, to me, not me as a woman, but I would feel that from
Yeah,
a woman's
yeah.
perspective, that would be kind of creepy. Like, you think to yourself, I'm just walking. I'm just walking into my hotel, and before I can even get to my hotel, I got somebody wanting to sign my autograph. That is kind of creepy. I mean, that could be creepy for a woman. I mean, and you especially with everything that's going on, cause it's cool. Like if a kid does this, but you got a grown ass man coming to you to want to sign, and then they said that the guy that in that video, he's actually known for like selling like collectibles online and what have you. So that's where when I heard about that, it added another layer of the creepiness, in my personal opinion. And it's just one of those things. Yes, just because this is brand new, yeah, this gonna be something that's kind of throw you off. And I think maybe down the line, maybe it will be normal or it may not be. I mean, it's a different perspective. I mean, that's just like anything. I mean, because you don't know what this guy, honestly, and I don't. It didn't look like they were heavily secured either. So you look at in that video, like there will be some type of form of trepidation. I can see where Kelsey Plum come from, and I just take the discourse of how everybody thinks that they should embrace this. I'm like, no, you just because it comes with it doesn't mean I have to embrace it. Just because so for me to have viewership and the people to engage with the game, whatever, I have to accept someone that may appear a grown ass man seeking my autograph.
Yeah.
To me, it's not a part of it in their world, and I guarantee the men are freaked out by that too, but they really don't say much because a lot of people, just like what's going on with Kelsey Plum, is they're making it like it's like she's complaining. Like, no, that shit is weird, and she's right. Weird as hell. Yeah. It's super weird.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely right about that. It's kind of give you like creepy vibes. So yeah, I definitely see where you coming from.
And I understand people say, yeah, you should embrace it, but certain things just like certain things just wouldn't sit right with me. And this is something where I don't. Now the kids, that's cool because kids are kids, and they even said that this dude would hire. I don't know. Not him, but I've heard other people that's similar to what he do. They will hire children to get autographs. Not him necessarily, but I've heard where they have hired children as like almost like a decoy to get the signed autographs, signed stuff, and give it to the adult, and then the adult sells it.
Yeah, now if you hiring children to get autographs, now that is
creepy.
Weird.
Yes, exactly, and that's why it's like, and that's just like, and people don't understand that how freaking crazy that is. Like,
but like you said, it's not. But like you said, it's people out there that's that desperate for the autograph so they can sell it on eBay or wherever else they sell it.
But yeah, so our last topic of big deal or not is Ace Bailey. So Ace Bailey, upcoming prospect in tomorrow night's draft. Many people at the time projected him as a number 3 overall pick. A lot of people at once upon a time had him going to Philadelphia number 3. So in this whole process, now between workouts and actual visits, Ace Bailey has gone to 0. 0. No visits, no dinners, no workouts. Obviously the most ones recently, obviously, he was supposed to meet with the Philadelphia 76ers brass. Canceled on them, like a day before. Had a workout with the Utah Jazz. Canceled that. So this is a big deal or no, that Ace Bailey pretty much has not attended a visit or workout. And he probably won't, because obviously at this point it is less than 24 hours away from the NBA draft. What you got?
It's a big deal. I'm just trying to figure out, you're not the consensus number 1 overall pick. We know who the number 1 pick will be in tomorrow's draft. And he is going to meetings, visits, workouts. So what's making Ace Bailey different from Cooper Flag? I don't understand the tactic in that. Like, what's your end goal? Because let alone you're potentially knocking yourself further back in the draft, but you're also costing yourself money. Not all first round picks make the same amount of money. The higher you get picked, the more money you make. The lower you get picked, the less money you make. So I just don't understand what him and his agent, what their game plan is. To me, it makes no sense as to why you're not going to meetings, meeting with these team owners and stuff like that. Like, what are you trying to prove? What's your end goal? Yeah. I don't get it, Coach.
Yeah. I don't either. And like you said, I agree, it's a big deal. And there was obviously a lot of this. I don't necessarily think it is on Ace Bailey itself. I think this is primarily on the agent. And obviously his agent is Omar Cooper. If you're familiar with Sharif Cooper, that's Sharif Cooper's dad. And there's just been some, and you see kind of like what happened with Sharif. So it kind of feels like,
and his daughter.
Tia Cooper, yeah. Mm-hmm.
She hasn't been back in the league in what, 3-4 years, something like that.
She was in a bubble,
yeah,
and she got cut maybe like 2021, 22.
Yeah, so I mean,
yeah,
was he her agent too?
I don't know if he was her agent or not, but the thing is, because obviously there's been some rumblings from his group where essentially they're saying that he wants to stay in the East Coast, which I don't understand, because the Sixers got the number 3 pick, because they say between New York and Atlanta. But I'm like, in my geographical sense, I'm gonna put my Carmen San Diego hat on. I think Philadelphia is between New York and in Atlanta, right? If my memory serves correct, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, first of all, I'm gonna take it from the both ends. Why not take meetings at least meetings. Workouts. Okay, you need to work out for somebody. You don't necessarily have to work out for like if Dallas or San Antonio, which they weren't gonna invite you for, but fit is where your potentially your landing spot is Philly. Why not at least go there? Because and the thing about all these type of things, just because you don't want to go to a certain place at this particular time, you don't know how the NBA is going to work for you. It's all about building relationships. Just because you can meet with Daryl Morey and all of them, but what if he gets a job somewhere else next year, or when it's time for you to get a big time deal in 4 years? He could be one of your suitors. Hey, I like this kid. You know, I interviewed him when I was with Philadelphia. I'm at another team. Well, we sign him because he'll fit well in our system. Because it's all about relationships at the end of the day. Because it's not just having an NBA roster spot, but just in general. Because you don't know what Daryl Morey can do for you in the future. Whatever, God forbid if something happens to you where you can't play basketball again, Daryl Morey be like, man, I really like this guy. Maybe I could put him up in a position to do something. You never know. Life is all about relationships. I understand, yes, he's a 18, 19-year-old kid that doesn't really understand the scope of these type of situations where you can build relationships and what have you. And then they were saying how he wants to be that number one guy. Like a lot of people thinking he want to go to Brooklyn or he want to go to Washington at 6. But now you're seeing he's dropping at 6, where every time you drop, that's millions and millions of dollars that you lose. And at the end of the day, these are guaranteed contracts. So you're going to get this money. So why not get the most money that you can get in a 4-year period? Because remember, it's not about today. It's about when it's 2029, 2030, when it's time for you to get paid big time.
Mm-hmm.
You trying to survive to get to that second contract.
Yeah.
It ain't about tomorrow. Tomorrow, yes. Tomorrow, what you see ahead of you, yes. Okay, yeah, it might be doom and gloom. I'm going to Philly or I'm going to Utah. But the same token, how you going to be in 4 or 5 years? Your future self. And you see how much they're giving out guys contract stuff? You thinking they're giving guys $350 million? What you thinking they're going to give you in 4 years?
Mm-hmm.
You literally can be almost a half a billionaire. Because who knows how the contract's going to be, especially now with, these new TV deals and all this type of stuff. And it's going to keep growing and growing. I mean, he may not necessarily make $500,000. That might be the max. But, I mean, it's going to probably be in the neighborhood about 400, almost nearing at 500 in about 4 or 5 years. So why not take advantage of it? And it's just, you can't, the thing about it, you can't come in this league and kind of leave a stain like this. And they're going to make him into an example.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they definitely going to make an example out of him. And I think it sucks for him because he's a heck of a player. And whatever team drafts him, if he falls out of the lottery, whatever team gets him, you're getting a steal.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's just not a good look to be turning down and canceling these interviews. I understand you may not want to do it, but you have to. You just show up, answer the questions, because if you know it or not, owners and GMs, they all talk on different, like around the league. So it's probably the word is out on them right now. So it's up to him to change the way people look at him once he gets into the league. And
Thanks.
I'm not gonna say you may have to. Well, I'll put it like this: I'm not gonna say fire your agent, but at some point, if this pattern continues to happen, changes might need to be made for the betterment of you.
Yeah.
You got to think about yourself. You're about to come into what generational wealth. So you might want to put that in the forefront of your brain when you're making these decisions, because you're making it too easy for these owners and GMs to not draft you. They probably already have it in their head that, oh, he's going to be a problem. He's going to be an issue. Let's not even waste a pick on him. Let's not even give ourselves the headache.
Yeah, facts. And the curious thing about it, these actions, we will see how it plays out tomorrow night in the NBA draft. So we'll put a bow on tonight's show. Who gets this week's game ball for your ex?
I'm gonna give it to SGA. I know winning the championship is a team achievement, but just thinking about the season he had as an individual is probably one of the best seasons that a single player can have in the NBA. You win All-Star, All-NBA, MVP, championship finals MVP, scoring leader. So, like I said, my game ball goes to SGA.
Okay. Gotta give my huge shout out to the LSU Tigers of baseball team, sweeping Coastal Carolina for their 8th national championship in baseball. So definitely huge shout out to LSU, the fight Jay Daniels, aka Go Tigers. So definitely huge shout out to the LSU baseball team. So final thoughts before we head on. Final thoughts, social media, and what you got going on.
Social media is X_J_SR for my Twitter X. My IG is Game on Image X. Final thoughts. Just want to get through this week. It's like hell week, the way it feel like outside.
Dang, who you telling? Like, golly, like, and it's just the first week of summer, man. Like, this is supposed to happen like in July, early August.
Yeah,
and we getting this. This ain't even the last week of well, it is the last week of June, but that's crazy, man. Like, it's crazy.
But then we're also hitting that dead period where there's really nothing going on media-wise. So
yeah,
it's just
there's gonna be a lot of off-season stuff. Obviously, you'll have the draft and then free agency next week, so that's gonna be interesting. And then bleed over, got a little summer league, so we're gonna have some stuff. You know, it's not gonna be as at a what I call it a thundering pace, but there'll be some stuff going on.
By the end of July, going into August, it's picking right back up.
Yeah, and we got July 31st, the first preseason game.
Yes,
we got it's your because it's the Lions, right? Y'all playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Against the Go Chargers go.
Hall of Fame game.
Thursday, July 31st. Man, we are literally like 5 weeks away from that, which is crazy.
Yeah. Yes.
Then it's full speed ahead.
Non-stop until
this
time again.
8th.
Until this time again next year.
Pretty much, yeah. Yep, it's going on. Yep. So yeah, man. So social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the website couchcoachlive.com. Definitely got to give you a huge shout out to our guy Jim Everett, the great. You guys talk Rams from time to time, especially during the football season. We'll probably talk about the Rams, and we do an NFL preview. We'll do the NFC West. That'll probably be coming up in the next about 6-7 weeks from now. We'll probably talk NFC West. So we talk about Rams, especially during the season. I definitely think we'll probably talk a little bit more Rams this year. Obviously, with the success of the Rams, I think obviously with the acquisition of Devontae Adams. And I think, to me, like I always said, they literally was a snowstorm away from beating the Eagles. I think that snow kind of crushed them in that second half. I was like, man, because we knew it was gonna snow. It's like, man, put some points on the board while it ain't snowing.
Yeah.
And they got to that final place. So, and they had an opportunity to win that game even in the snow. So I definitely think that the Rams I know for sure we'll probably be talking more Rams. May not be on a weekly basis, but as the season progresses, I definitely think they will be one of the top teams in the NFC. If you look at the teams that kind of gave Philly hell in the playoffs between them and like Green Bay, they'll be there as well. So we'll definitely be talking Rams. It may not be weekly, but we'll probably be talking about the Rams often. I'll put it that way. And yeah, man. Once again, another great show, and we will catch you guys on our next episode. And we're out.